Hello, greetings to all of you. My name is Dr. Kannan Kalapiran. I'm a child psychiatrist with training in Australia. I've been asked to talk about infant mental health, so I'm going to share some of my thoughts and experiences from my training overseas. The first question that crossed my mind when I came across this field about 10 years ago when I attended a Marseille conference in Melbourne is that I couldn't believe it. What is infant mental health? Could something like that even exist? But infant mental health has increasingly obtained more recognition over the years. It is because, unlike what was believed earlier, people recognize even children under 6 show a lot of emotional and behavioral disturbances that are indicators of what is likely to happen in the future. Secondly, if we intervene early on and address these problems, they seem to reduce the magnitude of the problem in the future. Thirdly, mental health issues at such a young age are also an indicator of the long term health of the child. So, how do we define infant mental health? It has been defined as the capacity of the child from birth to 5 years to form close, secure adult and peer relationships, manage and express a full range of emotions, and then explore the environment and learn in the context of family, community, and culture. So you can see that this is an encompassing definition which talks about stable relationships, regulated emotions, learning, and development. So if we define infant mental health this way, it becomes an absolute foundation to ensure that the child blossoms to its full potential. As in anything, there are several factors that determine the mental health of an infant, including prenatal factors, attachment with the caregiver, the caregiver's mental health, the caregiver's readiness to parent, and several social determinants. In this very short presentation, I'd like to bring your attention to just the two factors, more so the attachment and also to the caregiver's mental health. Let me show a
She
small
sits
video
down and she's playing with her baby
of a parent interacting with the child. So I'm going to look at it in two phases. Firstly, when the parent is interacting normally with the child,
who's about a year of age.
you can see that both the parent and the child are really
And
having a good time.
she gives a greeting to the
So this is
baby
from the still phase
gives a greeting
experiment.
back to her. This
Now
baby
the mother
starts
is delighted in
pointing
the
at different
child.
places in the
The
world, and the
child actually
mother's
wants to
trying
show
to
something to
engage
the
her and
mother.
play with her.
The
They're
mother is following the
working
child's
to
lead,
coordinate their
and now the
emotions
mother is
and
leading
their
the way,
intentions, what they want to
tickling the
do
child,
in the world. And that's
and they're
really
both
what the
relishing each
baby
other's company.
is used to. And then we ask the mother
And now the mother
to
has been
not
asked
respond to the
to
baby.
keep a still face, and this is called the still face
The
experiment.
baby very quickly picks up on this. And then she uses
And see the
all of
reaction
her
of the child.
abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the
The
mother.
child firstly is trying
She
to
points
smile and
because
see if
she's used
he
to
can
the
get the
mother looking
parent's
where she
attention. Then the child
points.
points to something.
The baby puts both
The
hands
child
up
leans
in front
forward,
of her and says, "What's happening
and now
here?"
it's starting to get frustrated.
She makes that screechy sound at the mother,
Even
like,
harder.
"Come
It's a
on,
scream from the
why
child.
aren't we doing this?" Even in this 2 minutes,
Biting
when
its hands.
they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions. They turn away. They
Looking
feel the
away.
stress of it. They actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress
And
that
then
they're
breaks into tears.
experiencing.
Now the mother then leads him, comes out of the experiment, and helps the child soothe. So we can see how the mother's mental state and engagement with the child determines the irritability levels, the child's emotional state, and behavior. And early on, this is not only at moment to moment, but also influences the brain development of the child, which is all the more crucial. When you look at early development, I just want to remind some of the key factors that are very relevant for our discussion today. We know experiences build brain architecture. Though the genes lay down the blueprint for the brain development, The actual experiences through epigenetics can decide which of the genes are expressed, and so the nature and nurture are actively playing together to create the type of a brain that we develop. So early childhood experiences are actively shaping the child's future. In this context, the interaction and relationship with the parent becomes absolutely crucial. It is very natural for the child to babble, coo, express in many ways, smile, and engage with the caregiver. When the caregiver is attuned, engaged with this child, and interacts well, the well being of the child is enhanced. On the other hand, if the child is exposed to toxic levels of stress, such as domestic violence, maternal depression, alcoholism, increased arguments and marital discord and stress in the family system, it actually impairs the child development. Areas such as the hippocampus and other cognitive areas are also compromised. So it's not just emotional development, but also cognitive, language, and overall development of the child that gets affected. Here we can see on the left the picture of John Bowlby, the proponent of attachment theory, who showed how we're biologically programmed to bond and attach with our caregivers, and the strength of that attachment actually determines a whole host of environmental, emotional, language, and developmental outcomes. So it becomes very important for us to consider that. On the right, you can see the imprinting experiment by Konrad Lorenz, which shows that attachment and bonding are common for all species. So the first thing that we see in the attachment literature is that secure attachment of the caregiver leads to positive infant well-being. Secure attachment means that the child feels in its nonverbal experience that the parent is reliable, is empathic, is there to protect me and guide me when I'm unwell. When the child grows with such an experience, the development of the brain is more rounded, and the child's emotional centers and regulated centers offer the child a very stable platform to be able to explore the world and develop fully. Now, even when there are adverse circumstances, if the child has formed a secure attachment with the caregiver, it's largely protected, even if it's just with one main parent. When the children are exposed to repeated stress, and if it's ongoing, it can start impairing the neuronal pathways and they can develop a lot of reactivity. So instead of being calm and processing what is happening and problem solving, they get into higher levels of emotional distress and problematic behavior. It gets worse when the attachment is disorganized. Now, literature is clearly showing that disorganized attachment and early traumatic experiences can lead to future depression, and not just depression, very interestingly, a whole host of health issues such as cardiovascular problems, cancer, alcoholism, and legal problems. So it shows how crucial the early experiences and emotional well being of the infant is in future outcomes. So, what are the red flags for a practitioner to sort of suspect when there could be attachment disruption? When a parent complains of overwhelming breastfeeding struggles, it's not the regular one, but much more than usual that we tend to pick up in regular practice. And when they use language that is accusing the baby, they have to learn, the baby is trying to make me mad, or unempathic, where they say they have to learn, so I'm letting her cry it out. And parents who do not set firm, loving boundaries. So they have difficulty in getting the child to sleep on time, to stop them from watching TV or mobile phones, to feed them properly. So those parents can also have difficulty in forming and helping these children form secure attachment. So what do we do? How do we do this in day-to-day clinical practice? It's very important that we are curious when we start hearing some of these red flags and explore with the parent what is happening at home. Is there any stress level at home? Is the parent sleeping well? Is the parent feeling relaxed? How is the parent feeling about parenting itself? Is it a struggle? Is it a delight? What are the challenges? And being open and empathic to the parent will help them open up what is going on. The other key thing that we wanted to highlight, for more for want of time, we will just make a mention of that, is that postnatal depression is another common condition that leads to significant attachment disruption. In one of the research studies at Ramchandra Medical College, we found about 20% of mothers have significant depressive symptoms. So it's not an uncommon problem at all, but it's often unrecognized, not just in the lower and middle social economic sectors, but even in the upper middle class and the higher social status. So it's something that for us to remember. And what do we do to change this? We should encourage these parents to tune into the child, which is to delight in the child, follow what the child is doing, and see if they can connect with the child. Ask them to talk more to the child so they can spend more time engaging the child, interacting with the child. Ask them to take turns. So, this is the reciprocal cooing and back babbling by the child and the parent. It's very important to develop a sense of connection and nurture their bonds. Turn off the TV, and that's a big problem these days. The American Academy of Pediatrics is clearly telling that we should not be using television or mobile phones for young children under the 2, but unfortunately, that is still happening. And finally, we need to ask ourselves, is the mother okay? Are we looking at the case scenario of a postnatal depression and whether that requires treatment? Thank you so much for your patient listening. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present on this important area. I wish you all the very best. I hope you have an enjoyable and enriching conference at NICE as usual. Thank you very much.